Every year, thousands of drivers get stranded on highways with nothing but a dead phone and a lot of regret. No water, no flashlight, no jumper cables, just vibes, and not the good kind. The highway doesn't care how close you are to home, how new your car is, or how good your luck has been so far. It has a way of humbling even the most confident drivers at the worst possible times. So before the next time fate decides to test you out there, let's talk about the 7 items to keep in your trunk when the highway becomes a graveyard. Item 7. Jumper cables or a portable jump starter. Let's start with the most embarrassingly common car problem on the planet: a dead battery. You've seen it. A car sitting on the shoulder, hood up, hazards blinking, the driver standing outside looking genuinely betrayed by their own vehicle. That driver is usually someone who thought, "That'll never be me," and yet, there they are. The average car battery lasts between 3 and 5 years. After that, it doesn't necessarily die in a neat, predictable way. It just starts losing the ability to hold a charge reliably. Cold weather accelerates this. A battery that performs adequately in September can fail completely in January because the cold dramatically reduces its output capacity. If your battery is more than 3 years old and you live somewhere that gets genuinely cold winters, it's not paranoia to have it tested before the temperature drops. Most auto parts stores will test it for free in about 10 minutes. That's a much better outcome than finding out its condition on a Tuesday morning in February, when you're already late. A dead battery doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes your car starts fine on Monday, and by Wednesday morning, you're sitting in a parking garage at 6 a.m., clicking a key fob that does absolutely nothing. Batteries fail in cold weather, in heat, after leaving a dome light on overnight, or sometimes for no logical reason at all, because cars, like people, are occasionally just unreliable. The traditional fix, jumper cables, requires another vehicle and a willing stranger. That's 2 variables you don't control. On a busy interstate, plenty of people will drive right past you without stopping. On a rural highway at night, you might be waiting a very long time for anyone to come by at all. That's where a portable jump starter changes the game entirely. These compact lithium-ion battery packs have become affordable, reliable, and small enough to fit in a glove compartment. Most modern units can jumpstart a standard passenger vehicle, an SUV, or even a light truck multiple times on a single charge. Many also double as USB charging ports for your phone and come with built-in LED flashlights, which, conveniently, is something you'll also need. According to AAA, battery-related calls are consistently among the top reasons people request roadside assistance year after year. In 2022 alone, AAA responded to over 7 million battery-related service calls across the United States. That's not a rare occurrence. That's practically a daily reality for a significant portion of American drivers. The argument against carrying jumper cables has always been, "I'll just call someone." And sure, if your phone has battery, if you have service, if roadside assistance can reach you in a reasonable amount of time, and if you're comfortable waiting alone on the side of a highway, those are a lot of ifs stacked on top of each other. Keep the cables. Better yet, get the portable jump starter. The price of a decent unit is less than a single tow truck call, and it works even when no one else is around to help. When shopping for a portable jump starter, look for one rated at least 1,000 peak amps for a standard gas engine. More if you drive a diesel or a larger SUV. Most quality units in the $60 to $100 range will cover the majority of passenger vehicles without breaking a sweat. Check it every few months and give it a charge if it's been sitting. A jump starter that hasn't been charged in 2 years is not going to do what you need it to do at 11 p.m. on a dark stretch of highway. Treat it like a smoke detector. If you only think about it when you need it, you've already waited too long. Item 6. A basic emergency roadside kit. There's a reason these kits exist. And it's not because someone wanted to sell you a bag of stuff you'll never use. It's because people kept finding themselves on the side of the road completely unprepared, and the results were sometimes fatal. A basic emergency roadside kit typically includes road flares or LED safety triangles, a reflective vest, a basic first aid kit, a utility knife or multi-tool, duct tape, zip ties, and sometimes a tow rope or bungee cords. You can buy a pre-assembled version or build your own. Either way, the contents are less important than actually having them. Road flares and reflective triangles are particularly critical. When your car is stopped on the shoulder of a highway, especially at night, other drivers may not see you until it's far too late. Every year, people and vehicles get struck by passing traffic while broken down on the side of the road. This is not a hypothetical danger. The Federal Highway Administration has documented hundreds of fatalities annually from what are classified as second collision incidents, meaning a driver or pedestrian who had already stopped due to an initial problem was then struck by another vehicle. Visibility is survival. A reflective vest makes you visible. Flares placed behind your vehicle create a visual warning for approaching traffic. These are not dramatic precautions. They are practical ones that take about 2 minutes to deploy and can prevent a bad situation from becoming catastrophic. Place your flares or triangles at intervals of 50 to 100 feet behind the vehicle, not right next to it. The goal is to give approaching drivers maximum warning distance, especially on highways where traffic is moving at 65 miles per hour or faster, and reaction time is measured in fractions of a second. The first aid kit inside the package matters too. A highway accident, even a minor fender bender, can result in cuts, bruises, or worse. Having gauze, bandages, antiseptic wipes, and pain relievers on hand is the difference between managing a situation and being helpless until EMS arrives. Duct tape and zip ties might seem like the MacGyver portion of this list, but experienced drivers know better. A loose bumper, a detached heat shield, a broken mirror. These are all things that can be temporarily secured well enough to get you off the highway and to a proper repair shop without creating a further hazard. It's not a permanent fix, and no one is pretending it is. It's a get-home solution, and those have real value. One often overlooked addition to the kit is a window breaker and seatbelt cutter, a small, inexpensive combo tool that can be clipped to a sun visor or stored in the kit. In the event your car ends up submerged in water or your door is jammed shut after a collision, a standard seatbelt becomes a trap. Having a cutter within reach is the kind of thing that costs $3 and takes up no space. But if the day ever comes when you need it, no amount of money would feel like too much to have paid for it. Store it somewhere accessible, not buried at the bottom of the trunk. Item 5. A spare tire. That's actually usable. Here is a thing that happens far too often. A driver gets a flat tire, opens their trunk, pulls out the spare, and discovers that the spare is also flat, or that the jack is missing, or that no one in the vehicle has any idea how to use any of it. Let's address this systematically. First, check your spare tire right now, not when you need it. Pull it out of the trunk, check the pressure, and make sure it's inflated to the specification listed in your owner's manual. Spare tires lose pressure over time, just like regular tires do. A spare that's been sitting in your trunk for 3 years without being checked is not a spare you can count on. Second, know what kind of spare you have. Many modern vehicles come equipped with a temporary compact spare, commonly called a donut. These are smaller and lighter than full-size tires, and are not designed for highway speeds or long distances. Most manufacturers recommend keeping speeds under 50 miles per hour on a donut and limiting use to no more than 50 to 70 miles. Driving a donut at 80 miles per hour on an interstate for 200 miles because you don't want to stop at a tire shop is a mistake that some drivers have made and regretted. Some newer vehicles, particularly many electric vehicles and certain modern sedans, don't come with a spare at all. They come with a tire inflation kit, a sealant canister, and a compressor. These work for small punctures. They do not work for a blowout or a sidewall rupture. If your car falls into this category, it's worth considering whether keeping a compact spare in your trunk is worth the trunk space. For many people on long highway drives, it absolutely is. Third, make sure your vehicle has a working jack and lug wrench that matches your car. These are usually stored with the spare, but can be missing, damaged, or, in the case of many factory lug wrenches, so poorly designed that they're nearly impossible to actually use. A small hydraulic floor jack and a proper torque wrench take up more space, but are dramatically easier and safer to use on the side of a highway than the cheap pressed steel factory tools that come standard in most cars. Knowing how to change a tire is a separate but related skill. If you've never done it, find a quiet parking lot and walk through the process once. It takes about 20 minutes the first time. The second time, it takes 10. On a dark highway shoulder with your hazards on and trucks rumbling past at 70 miles per hour, you want that process to feel familiar. not mysterious. One more thing worth mentioning: tire pressure gauges. A small, inexpensive gauge, the kind that fits in a cup holder, takes the guesswork out of checking your spare. Most people eyeball tires and assume they look fine. Tires can lose 20 or 30% of their pressure and still look reasonably inflated to the naked eye. The only way to actually know is to check. A gauge costs about $5 and lasts indefinitely. Keep one in the glove box or in the kit. The 10 seconds it takes to check your spare before a long trip is not going to inconvenience you. Finding out it's flat when you're already on the side of the highway absolutely will. Item 4. Water and non-perishable food. This one gets dismissed more than almost anything else on this list. People hear, "Keep water in your trunk," and think it sounds like advice for someone preparing to cross the Sahara, not commute on I-95. But consider this. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has documented cases of drivers stranded for hours, sometimes overnight, waiting for assistance after accidents, severe weather events, or mechanical failures in remote areas. Traffic accidents on highways can shut down roads for 4, 6, even 8 hours. Floods have stranded drivers on elevated highway sections. Blizzards have trapped thousands of vehicles on interstate highways for entire nights. In January 2022, a major snowstorm left hundreds of vehicles stranded on Interstate 95 in Virginia for up to 27 hours. Drivers sat in their cars overnight in freezing temperatures with no food, no water, and dwindling fuel for heat. Some travelers reported having nothing to eat or drink for the entire duration. Several required medical attention. That event wasn't rare in the way people want to believe. Winter storms, flooding, wildfires that close highways, multi-vehicle accidents that gridlock interstates for hours. These are documented, recurring situations. Water is non-negotiable. Keep at least 4 bottles of water in your trunk, ideally more if you drive with children or pets. In a hot car in summer, temperatures inside the trunk can exceed 130 degrees Fahrenheit, which will cause plastic bottles to leach chemicals into the water over time. Consider using stainless steel water bottles or rotating your plastic supply regularly. Hydration tablets are also a compact option worth keeping in the kit. Non-perishable food, energy bars, trail mix, crackers, peanut butter packets, takes up almost no space and weighs very little. The psychological and physical comfort of having something to eat when you've been sitting in a broken-down car for 3 hours is not insignificant. Blood sugar matters. Keeping people calm and functional when stuck in an emergency situation is easier when they're not hungry. If you drive with children, this is doubly important. Children do not handle waiting well under normal circumstances. Children who are hungry, thirsty, and frightened in a stalled car on a dark highway are an additional emergency layered on top of the first one. It's also worth factoring in pets. Dogs and cats in a hot, stalled car are in genuine danger within minutes, not hours. If you regularly travel with animals, keeping a collapsible bowl and extra water in the trunk isn't optional, it's responsible ownership. Heat stroke in animals progresses extremely fast, and a stranded car on a summer highway in direct sun can reach interior temperatures that are dangerous within 15 to 20 minutes of the engine shutting off. Plan for them the same way you'd plan for anyone else in the vehicle who can't advocate for themselves. One underrated option for the food portion of this kit is a small supply of electrolyte packets, the kind you dissolve in water. When people are stressed, sweating, or sitting in heat for extended periods, plain water alone doesn't always replace what the body loses. Electrolyte powder takes up almost no space, doesn't expire quickly, and can make a real difference in how someone feels after a long wait in difficult conditions. A small hand crank or battery-powered emergency radio is also worth considering alongside the food and water supply. In a major weather event, the kind that strands you for hours, cell service becomes unreliable precisely when everyone is trying to use it simultaneously. A basic emergency radio picks up NOAA weather alerts and local emergency broadcasts without needing a cell signal at all. It's not a necessity, but for drivers who regularly travel through rural areas or regions prone to severe weather, it adds a layer of situational awareness that a smartphone simply can't guarantee. Item 3. A flashlight with fresh batteries, or a rechargeable one. Your phone's flashlight is useful. It is not a substitute for an actual flashlight. This distinction matters more than people think. A dedicated LED flashlight provides significantly more light output than a phone camera flash, especially over distance. When you're trying to see what's wrong under the hood, locate a jack point under the vehicle frame, or read a tire pressure gauge in the dark, the narrow, dim light from a phone becomes genuinely inconvenient. When you're trying to signal other drivers or walk to a call box along a dark highway shoulder, the difference is even more pronounced. Phone batteries are finite and precious in an emergency. If your car is dead and your phone is your only connection to help, the last thing you want is to drain it using the flashlight function for 20 minutes while you're trying to change a tire. There are two practical options. The first is a standard LED flashlight with a fresh set of batteries stored separately. Batteries left installed in a flashlight for years can corrode and damage the device. Keep the batteries in a sealed bag in the kit. Install them when needed. The second and increasingly preferred option is a rechargeable USB flashlight, one that charges via the same port as your phone. These can be topped up every time you clean out your car, eliminating the dead battery problem entirely. Headlamps deserve a specific mention here. A hands-free headlamp, the kind that straps to your forehead, is one of the genuinely underrated tools for roadside situations. When you're crouching next to a flat tire or leaning under a hood, having both hands free while still having light exactly where you're looking is a significant practical advantage. They're inexpensive, compact, and most people who've used one in an actual roadside situation become immediate converts. A small flashlight also serves a function beyond mechanical work. It makes you visible to other drivers as a moving human presence on the shoulder. Walking along a dark highway shoulder without any light source is one of the more dangerous things a stranded driver can do. If you want to take it one step further, a magnetic base flashlight is worth the small extra investment. These attach directly to the vehicle's frame or hood, freeing your hands completely while keeping a fixed light source exactly where you need it. Some drivers keep a small clip-on COB work light in the kit specifically for this purpose. They're flat, lightweight, and far more practical than trying to prop a flashlight against something while you're crouching in the dark next to a tire. The point isn't to build a lighting rig on the side of the highway. The point is to not be invisible and to be able to see what you're doing at the same time. Item 2, warm clothing and an emergency blanket. Weather doesn't check your schedule before it decides to turn on you. A driver who breaks down in summer heat faces one set of problems. A driver who breaks down in winter, especially in northern states, mountain passes, or plains regions where temperatures drop rapidly after dark, faces a substantially more dangerous set of problems. Hypothermia sets in faster than most people expect. When it's 20 degrees Fahrenheit outside and the car's engine is off, interior temperature drops steadily. A light jacket might be comfortable for the walk from the parking lot to the office. It is not adequate insulation for several hours in a stalled vehicle in a winter storm. Keep a warm layer in your trunk, a fleece, a wool blanket, a heavy jacket that you're not currently wearing. This doesn't have to be elaborate. A $15 fleece blanket folded in a corner of the trunk takes up almost no space and weighs almost nothing. What it represents, however, is the difference between being cold and uncomfortable and being dangerously cold. Emergency Mylar blankets, sometimes called space blankets, are a specific tool worth keeping in the kit. These thin, metallic-looking sheets retain up to 90% of body heat and fold down to the size of a deck of playing cards. They're standard equipment in hiking and emergency preparedness kits because they work. In a roadside emergency, they can be the difference between a miserable but manageable night and a medical situation. In the summer months, a light blanket still has utility, as shade, as something to kneel on while changing a tire, or as insulation against a hot asphalt surface. It doesn't have to be a one-season item. Beyond blankets, consider waterproof gloves, a warm hat, and an extra pair of dry socks in the kit. These are items that seem unnecessary until the moment they're desperately needed, and at that moment, you'll be very glad someone reminded you to pack them. The car broke down at 11 p.m. in February on a stretch of highway with no shoulder lights. By the time help arrived 2 hours later, I was genuinely shaking. A driver recounting a winter breakdown in upstate New York shared in a 2019 AAA roadside safety survey. It's worth noting that hypothermia doesn't require blizzard conditions. Temperatures in the 50s combined with rain and wind are enough to cause dangerous heat loss, particularly in someone who is already stressed, wet, or not dressed for the weather. The scenario of getting out of your car on a rainy October night to deal with a flat tire in a work shirt and dress shoes is not a dramatic edge case. It happens regularly to people who thought they were just running a quick errand. The blanket in your trunk doesn't know whether you planned ahead or not. It just works when you use it. Item 1. A portable phone charger and a physical map. Saving this one for last because it might be the most quietly important item on the entire list. In 2025, the assumption that your phone works is so deeply embedded in how people navigate, communicate, and call for help that most drivers have built their entire emergency plan around it. And that plan works, right up until it doesn't. Dead phone battery, no signal, a cracked screen from the collision that also broke down your car, a phone that got soaked when you stepped out into a rainstorm. These are not exotic failure scenarios. These are things that happen to regular people on regular days. A portable phone charger, a power bank, is one of the most practical tools any driver can carry. Keep one in your car that is specifically dedicated to your car emergency kit. Charge it every time you do routine maintenance, or set a reminder to charge it every 3 months. A 10,000 mAh power bank, roughly the size of a thick card deck, can fully charge most smartphones 2 to 3 times. That's enough for hours of calls, navigation, and communication in an extended roadside emergency. The second part of this item, a physical map, will make some people laugh. Go ahead, but hear this out. GPS navigation depends on 3 things: a charged device, cellular or satellite signal, and a functioning app. In remote areas, tunnels, signal dead zones, or after a catastrophic phone failure, GPS is simply unavailable. A paper map doesn't need a signal. It doesn't need a battery. It doesn't freeze, crash, or require an update at an inconvenient moment. You don't need a detailed atlas. A state road map or a laminated national highway map stored flat under the trunk liner costs about $3 and lasts indefinitely. It tells you where you are, what the nearest exits and towns are, and what roads connect to them. That information, in a genuine emergency, has real value. There's also something worth saying about having a written list of emergency contacts, roadside assistance number, a trusted mechanic, family members, in a small notebook or laminated card in the kit. When your phone is dead, the numbers stored in it are inaccessible. Most people cannot recall even their closest contacts' phone numbers from memory anymore because they've never needed to. If you find a working payphone or borrow someone's phone, having that written list means you can actually use it. While you're at it, keep a record of your insurance card, vehicle registration, and roadside assistance membership number, either physically in the glove box or photographed and stored somewhere accessible offline on your phone. In the aftermath of a collision or breakdown, the last thing you want to be doing is scrolling through emails trying to find a policy number. Some roadside assistance apps also allow offline access to membership details. Worth checking before you actually need to use it. A 2-minute setup now can save a significant amount of frustration later when frustration is already running high. The highway doesn't negotiate. It doesn't give warnings. 1 minute you're cruising at 70 miles per hour with the radio on, and the next you're on the shoulder watching traffic pass while you try to figure out what to do next. What you have in your trunk at that moment isn't just about convenience. It's about how quickly a bad situation becomes manageable, and how quickly manageable becomes dangerous. None of these items are expensive. None of them take up significant space, and not one of them will ever seem worth carrying, right up until the day they are. Here's the honest reality. Most people will go years without needing any of this. That's a good thing. But the drivers who have been stranded for hours in freezing temperatures, or who watched their phone die while waiting for help on a rural stretch of highway with no signal, or who discovered their spare was flat when they already had a flat, those people don't need to be convinced. They'll tell you themselves. The goal isn't to be paranoid, it's to spend a couple of hours and less than $100 assembling a kit that covers the most common, most preventable emergencies a driver can face. A jump starter, a roadside kit, a working spare, water and food, a flashlight, something warm, and a way to stay connected and navigate when your phone can't do it alone. Jumper cables, or a jump starter, a roadside emergency kit, a usable spare tire, water and food, a proper flashlight, warm clothing and an emergency blanket, and a charged power bank with a physical map. 7 items, 1 trunk. peace of mind that actually means something the next time the highway decides to test you. If this video helped you out, hit the like button and subscribe. It genuinely helps more people find this channel. And if there's something you keep in your car that belongs on this list, drop it in the comments. Stay safe out there.